Welcome to episode 3 of Unibet presents the Queensberry Rules. I'm Adam Catterall, Nick Peat with me as ever, and today we've got a special show lined up for you because he's celebrating his 40th birthday.
Me?
No. In the game of boxing. The one and only Mr. Frank Warren is going to be joining us for this show, and of course we're going to be hearing from a little bit of that undercard that we've got for the Dubois Joyce show this weekend. Jack Catterall is going to be on talking about the possibility of maybe fighting for a world title in the not too distant future. So you're going to get all that coming up. But let's get stuck straight into the conversation, shall we? With Mr. Frank Warren, who joined me a little earlier on, and we started the conversation by discussing the iconic venue that this fight is taking place in this weekend. Well, this is a treat. Not only do we have a hell of a fight at the weekend, but we've got another one the weekend after that.
Yeah.
And we've got 40 years to celebrate as well. So we might be here for a bit, okay?
Yeah, that week is the Saturday to the 5th is the week that I first promoted a boxing border control fight. 1st of December 1980. Many years. You wouldn't think of it to look at me. I know,
not at all. Yeah. Not at all. Can we talk about venue first before we talk about fight? Because these times have been challenging for everybody in the fight game. You've got to be creative. You've got to be innovative. Church House doesn't get a bigger statement than that, does it? I mean, that's iconic when it comes to UK history.
It certainly is. I mean, it was the first NATO meeting was ever there. It's where Churchill announced the Bismarck was sunk. It got bombed in the war. They had parliamentary meetings there and all that. It's a very historical building. Lots, and there'd be a lot of bombs going off on Saturday night with these two big guys in the ring.
How'd you come to the conclusion of doing it there? Because I'm sure that you could have done it at York Hall or PT Studio or whatever.
My son Henry found the venue, and we couldn't get into the studio because let's be really honest about it. At this time of year, you're indoors. It doesn't matter where it is, does it? You've not got a live crowd there, but. Anyway, we found that and we went and looked at it, and it's phenomenal. It's a lovely venue, and I'm looking forward to it.
Of all the venues that you've promoted in over your 40-year history, it's right up there, isn't it?
It is, yeah. I mean, I've done venues in some strange places fights in some strange places over the years, but yeah, this is one of them.
Now, this one's obviously was scheduled for April, scheduled for July, scheduled for October. Be honest with me now, because I know that everybody's taking a haircut for this. I've done the maths because you've splashed out. You've put on a hotel, you've put on COVID tests, you've put on protocols. All these things all stack up. How hard is it to make money in this game right now with this fight?
Well, you're not. It's as simple as that. I mean, the hotel, I think we got about 60 odd grand's worth of cost just for the hotel, which is not what we would normally have because everybody, as you say, has got to be in the bubble. Yep. Extra people there and longer stays. The testing comes to a fortune. We spent hundreds of thousands of pounds since we did the show. I think it's about a 9th or 10th show. I'm not sure what it is, whether it's coming into it, but we spent a tremendous amount of money on additional expenses without the revenue from the live gate. So it's been testing, not just for me, it's been testing for other promoters. It's just that, but we're all trying hard to make it work and deliver boxing because we have to do that. We have to get it out there and make it relevant. And by the way, the government don't seem to think it's relevant because they've not made it. There's been no grants to it. I'm not saying to us, but to any of the guys who've not got the cushion of TV or whatever. No grants made from that money that they made available for all the sports. It's got completely ignored professional and amateur boxing, which is a disgrace. But we work very hard between us all to make it happen, and I feel, that's all we can do because we now got this. We're being told there's a vaccine. We're now being told that that should hopefully enable us to get the crowds back in sometime in April or May. We will see, provided everybody has the vaccine. But in the meantime, we've got to get on with it. So this fight, as you say, it was off, it was on. We worked hard to get it on. But I think the main reason we done it because, one, the two boxers wanted it. Two, I wanted it. I want to see this fight now. I really do want to see this fight. And how much it means for the winner. 2021, hopefully the world's a different place than it is today. Hopefully by then, or next year, that Tyson and AJ get it on. They'll fight each other twice. The winner of that, Tyson, hopefully will be fighting. These guys are going to be in the mix to be fighting them. They get at the moment, Daniel's number 2 in the WBO, behind Usyk.
Yep.
Is Usyk going to fight AJ? if AJ comes through Pulev, but whoever it is, Pulev or AJ, they've got to fight Usyk or vacate. And if they vacate, they fight Daniel. If Daniel comes through, or Joe, whoever it may be. And if they don't, the winner of this will become the mandatory anyway. Yeah. So it's a win-win for the winner.
Exciting. Yeah. I'm going to come back to the fight in a minute because you touched upon a few things that I want to just go to there. First of all, fans. We've been told today, I think London's now in Tier 2, so therefore that might open up the opportunity to get fans in after December the 2nd. You've got a show on December the 5th. Yep. Any plans to have anybody at the church house?
What we're going to do on the 5th, we are going to have fans in there, but the fans are going to not be, they will be invited by us. We're not selling tickets.
Okay.
We're going to invite key workers.
Good idea.
Who've worked very hard on all our behalves, keeping us safe and well. So we'll be inviting them as our guest. And we'll be invited along some Chelsea pensioners. They didn't, November the 11th, Armistice Day and so forth. They couldn't get out for it, and it must have been a sad time for them. And reflecting on their comrades and where they've been and how they've served their country. So we want some of those guys to come along as well, make it a good night for them.
A very nice touch as well to celebrate your 40th year as well on that particular night.
I'm one of them pensioners.
You wearing the red?
Oh yeah,
you gonna get the red on?
Yeah, I'll wear my red coat. The only red coat I'll get is so there's a baby crying in Shally tent. IDI. That'll be about it.
On the government bailout there, because they put 300 million into other sports, boxing didn't get anything. Why do you think that is? Is it because we don't have an overriding body? You've got bodies that look after, for example, IBA, that look after amateur stuff. You've got British Boxing Board of Control. You've got the Northern Ireland and British Boxing Board of Control. Do we need to overhaul what we're doing and have one overriding body so therefore they can distribute government grants like that to the right areas?
Look, I spoke with Robert Smith today and Charlie Giles, Charlie Giles is the president, Robert Smith's the general secretary of the Boxing Board, and they've made quite a few representations to the government, and we've got a Zoom call next week with the parliamentary all-party boxing committee to make some representations to them. I think what you say may up to a certain point be valid, but it's not like the government don't know, or the sports minister, whoever you are, the sports minister doesn't know anything about boxing, Because I've got to tell you something, as soon as there's an election on, like Boris Johnson, I've seen the photographs, I've got the photographs of him in the ring at the local boxing club with the gloves on for a photo opportunity to show he's a man of the people, in the inner city area. David Cameron the same, when him and George Brown were fighting over getting Amir Khan, who is he going to support, going up there to the gym up there. They're soon up there kissing the boxers' asses when it suits them. But this time round, they just forget about them. What they don't realise is at the moment, professional boxing, probably about 5% of the boxers in this country are getting work. 95% of them are doing nothing. They're
trying to get other jobs.
Sure. There's how many promoters? Probably about 3 promoters putting any shows on who've got the cushion of some TV backing and running shows basically either at a loss or just about breaking even. And then the other guys are small hall shows and other promoters are getting nothing. So those fighters who normally fight in those shows are getting nothing. Those fighters who go and fight on ticket deals are doing nothing because there's no crowds there. And it's dreadful. Not just the fact it's their living, what they chose to do. And you think they've given up their lives or devoted their lives to become professional fighters. It's not like, and everyone's getting, how many people being put out of work now? It's about 2.5 million people being out of work soon. Yeah. So it's not like they're going to get a job tomorrow. They are professional boxers. They have a job, and if they got some support from government, they would be able to go and do what they should be doing in the ring and earn a living and provide for their family. That's what they want. They can't even go and train in their gyms because the gyms are not open. It's not just the fighters, it's the trainers, the cornermen, the seconds. The whole industry is absolutely knackered at the moment. There's another word for it.
And local communities are in trouble.
I was going to get back to the next. Then the amateurs are even worse. All you've got is the GB squad get funded. They get a few quid. I don't know how many GB boxers there are in the squad. Was it 20, 25? Yeah. I don't know. And you've got probably about 2,500 amateur boxers, maybe 3,000. Get nothing. Not going to the gyms, not being able to train in inner city areas where we're getting all the knife crime, where government keep banging on about obesity, talking about, doing away with racism, where gyms, when they go in these gyms, you're interacting with people from different ethnic backgrounds. Obviously controlling your weight, dietary, you're in a great environment. You're never going to be a professional, but you're an amateur boxer or you're amateur training. None of that's happening for them. This is in areas where, where we need it, in inner city areas where kids have got nothing. I'm sure the mums or the dads or the parents would have preferred their kids to be driving racing cars, playing golf, playing tennis, playing ice hockey, because they've all had grants, horse racing, badminton. I'm sure that, but all these key sports who've been granted huge sums of money, many millions, sure their kids, but they couldn't afford the equipment. They can't do it. They can go to a boxing club and they can work there and get some self-esteem and some self-respect in doing what they want to do. All that's been taken away from them, and nobody has given the best word for it, a shit about these kids. Nobody. We're going to lose a generation of fighters probably as a result of this. Nobody cares about it. All that great work that those amateur trainers do in those clubs, they don't get paid. They don't get any money. Nothing's happening for them. It's outrageous where we are now, and I just feel so strongly about this. When I look at the sport of kings, horse racing, they give money to motor racing.
Yeah.
What? I'm not saying you shouldn't give money. Greyhound racing, ice hockey. When did we ever win a gold medal in greyhound racing in the Olympic Games? When did we ever win a gold medal in ice hockey? I'm not saying that people shouldn't do it. I understand all these industries are suffering, but come the Olympic Games, the feel-good factor of, not that I was the greatest fan of his as a pro, but Audley Harrison, what a great feel-good factor that was when he won. AJ, when he won a gold medal, James DeGale, Nicola Adams, Amir Khan. And think of all those politicians, how they all lined up with them to get their photos done. So where are you now, politicians? Where are you? Why aren't you doing something for people who desperately need it, whose lives are a misery at the moment? The mental problems that they must be going through is just awful. And I know it's happening for all the country, and we're all in the same boat. I'm not saying so much me, but a lot of people are in a terrible position. But the point I'm making is, if you've got 300 million quid you're bailing out sport with, what happened to boxing? What happened to it? What are we going to read about in the newspapers for the next few days? This big fight. It's going to be all double features in all the newspapers. So what, boxing don't count?
Well, one of the main protagonists in this fight the weekend benefited from some of that funding, didn't he? By getting to the Olympics and getting the silver medal.
And won a silver medal for his country. That's when he represented his country and done that. In the Commonwealth Games, won a gold medal for his country, represented his country proudly. Where's our country now? What is our government doing now for these guys? Doing absolutely nothing. And I'm trying to clean my act up, how I'd like to say.
I think you're representing the thoughts of quite a lot of people watching this.
It's absolutely dreadful. And if that fun was there, I just don't get it. Why nothing went to boxing? Boxing is a sport that matters, and what we're doing by putting these shows on, getting them on TV, and we're losing money or maybe breaking even on a couple of them, that's giving people entertainment at home. All those people who are being locked down have had to stay at home. At least we provided something for them without any grants. But these down underneath us, the lower divisions, are getting zilch. It's wrong.
Shall we talk about the fight of the weekend? No, I think you've represented a lot of what the fans are thinking right now, and I'm glad that you've said that, and I'm sure that a lot of people will be on board with exactly what you've said, and hopefully that then brings them to this fight at the weekend and get stuck in, because we've had a good year thinking about this fight with it being on and off with the pandemic. I'm sure that they've gone through game plans, I'm sure they've gone through tactics, but I've just got a funny feeling, and I don't know whether you're on the same page as this, that the minute that someone gets clipped on the whiskers in the first round, all those tactics are going out the window, and we are going to get one hell of a fight.
Look, they're both big punchers. I mean, their knockout ratio, only two opponents respectively have gone the distance with either of them. All their other fights have been stopped. They're phenomenal. About 95% knockout rate. That's phenomenal. They both got this tremendous self-belief in it, that they can beat each other. They really do fancy the job. You can see that. And I'll tell you one thing out of this lockdown. Look at the shape they're in.
Yeah, unbelievable.
I mean, they're in tremendous shape. And you're right. I mean, I think, that could happen. And this fight for me, though, is going to be about is somebody up here using this and controlling that fight from the first bell. and getting on top, and then the bombs will go, being relaxed and being able to do that. But, you know, the new kid on the block and the guy with all this wealth of amateur experience, something else, isn't it?
Yeah, and not only is the opportunity to become British, European, Commonwealth champion, which is unheard of all on one night, which is a great accolade in itself. But as you mentioned at the start of this conversation, there might be a world title at 2021, depending how the politics of this division lays out. And it's looking very strong that will happen.
I'm very convinced, you know, hopefully Tyson and AJ get it on next year. They'll fight, they will have to fight twice, that'll be the deal. And Tyson comes through that, as I've said, you know, and then one of these guys is going to be standing there at the end. One of these is going to be the mandatory challenger. It's going to be great.
I just want to speed ahead to the 5th, if that's okay. Are people overlooking Lyndon Arthur? Because I'm looking at that fight and I think it's a 50-50 proper knock.
Undefeated. He's undefeated. He's undefeated for a reason, because he's not bad. So you've got a fight there. Again, it's going to be, you know, Pat Barrett's no slouch and Norris Tundi. So between them, they both fancy, again, both these fighters fancy the job. Both their trainers fancy it. And I like to think, you know, that 40th anniversary, we put together something special for the fans to watch.
No, absolutely. It'll be a cracking night on the 5th. Looking forward to that. A couple of other fighters that I want to talk about, if that's all right. Liam Williams, because I know that Demetrius Andrade was supposed to fight this week.
Yep.
Dusty Springfield isn't fighting him. Not Dusty Springfield, but you get what I'm saying. That fight's off. So is the next fight in line, you think, for Andrade? You pushing that forward?
100%.
Yeah.
And we've got to try and get this deal done very quickly, or it's going to go to purse bids.
Okay, so February, March, are we?
That's not going to go long. No, it won't go past March, that's for sure.
Okay, exciting times.
Want that.
I would just want to throw some questions at you over 40 years now, if that's okay. Because you have promoted some of the most iconic fights, especially for British fighters. So this is going to be a difficult question for you to answer. So I want you to go top 5 fights that you promoted that mean the most to you. They don't necessarily have to be the best that you've seen, but the ones that mean the most.
They won't be. Some might be the best, but they won't be. What they mean? What 5? Right. I'm not going to do them in any order.
No, go for it.
I think the very first fight that I did that got on TV, which was Clinton McKenzie against Steve Early.
Okay.
Because in those days, it was really difficult to promote. There was only 2 TV channels, BBC and ITV. ITV didn't show any domestic boxing. BBC had an exclusive contract with the, as we know now, the Cartel, group of four guys. I was a young kid on the block. I think I was about 28 years of age then. And I got it on BBC. They didn't even want it BBC. I mean, it's a long story how I got it, but I got it on there at the end. You can read about it in my book. And that's one, because that was very important to me. That was very important for me to get me going and showing that it could be done. Joe Calzaghe and Jeff Lacey at that time. People look at it now and don't realise that Joe was the massive underdog in that fight. All the press, both sides of the Atlantic, they all thought it was going to be a formality. He pulled out the fight once. We got it back on. It's an old story now about his hand and how I sort of talked him into fighting. And it was a phenomenal performance. And I have to include me in the Royal We, upset the odds because he was a big underdog going into that fight, according to everyone. Joe done an absolute job on him. Wrecked him. They should have pulled him out. He was never the same after that fight, and that was a great night for Joe, which led on to a much better fight with him and Kessler.
Yeah.
So I'm going to include those 2 as one fight.
Ah, right, okay. So you're having a top 6 then.
Yeah,
all right, go on.
That was a great fight. I think Ricky Hatton against Costa Tszyu again.
Can I just point out, you've named 2 fights there from that you put on in Manchester.
Yeah.
It's always better in the north, just letting you know that.
Well, we got boxing going in the north, if you remember. There was nothing, it was all like tumbleweed going through there before we went up there. Ricky, again, was a massive underdog. Tszyu was pound for pound. I think he was pound for pound number 1 at the time. And again, massive underdog. And Ricky absolutely got the tactics right. I think I got the timings right for getting the fight on, picked the right moment, which I'm not bad at doing sometimes. And he did an absolute job. He broke him. And he had a really good cornerman in there in Johnny Lewis, Australian, who done the right thing for his man and pulled Cos out at the right time. And Ricky was phenomenal that night. And Ricky and I got a great relationship now, and we get on well. And he always says it was his best night of his career, which I'm really pleased it was. That's what it was for him, because it was one of my best nights as well. So that was a great night. Right, Naz going to New York.
Come on.
That was a good fight when we went out there. I mean, it was about 6 or 7 days before Christmas. Everyone said we're crazy, we won't sell any tickets. We had the highest grossing gate at Madison Square Gardens for a featherweight back then that it ever had. I was the first Englishman to promote a fight, any boxing at Madison Square Gardens, so that was good. And
I like the way that you just went, that was good. That's pretty big.
And it was a tremendous fight.
It was an unbelievable fight.
They were up and down. Naz always felt I had to beat him. I was absolutely on the edge of my seat thinking to myself, it weren't supposed to pan out like this, but it did. And at the end of the day, he broke Kevin Kelly's heart. That's what he did. He put him down at the end, and Kevin, I think he knew that was his lot. And ringside was phenomenal. I mean, Trump was there, Pierce Brosnan, all sorts of celebrities, and it was just a great night. So that was good fun.
You'll have one more.
It's 2 fights again. It's Tyson Fury's 2 fights against Wilder.
Yeah.
I mean, they were just phenomenal fights. First fight, again, an underdog. I think it was only his dad, him, me, who fancied him. And he got robbed. Mm-hmm. And that last round, I'll never forget that. I thought it was all over myself. Everyone was getting up. I remember Shelley Fink and all the entourage were getting up, moving towards the ring. Thought it was all over. Their man was behind, and he pulled it out of the bag. But he got up, and not only got up, took the fight to him and won it. And then the next fight, because it's one fight, and I'll tell you why I'm calling it one fight. The next fight, round 1 of the next fight was round 13, and it just followed through. And again, I don't know why everybody said Tyson was an underdog.
In the second one?
Yeah, you look at the press. Most of the press were all tipping Deontay Wilder to beat him. I was shocked at that. Mm-hmm. And I said at the time, I said he will stop him this time. I knew he would stop him, and that's what he did.
Fantastic. Has there been a fight that got away that you wish would have happened that just you couldn't get together?
Blimey. Yeah. Tyson v. Anthony Joshua.
You've time.
At the moment.
You've still time.
We will see. No, there's been a lot over the years that may have happened. I'm trying to, quite a few fights could have been made, but didn't happen. And I'm not being real, I've left a lot of guys out there who've been in some
Listen, you've been here 4 years.
Fights.
You've
It's
been
very,
here 4 years.
But anyway, that's not bad.
No.
Those few are not bad.
Absolutely. Has there been a fighter that you would have liked to have promoted?
Yeah. I would. Who would I like to have promoted? I would love to have promoted Muhammad Ali.
I bet you would, yeah.
Or Ray
You've
Leonard,
had some fun, haven't you?
Or Ray Leonard. Oh, God. I mean, just for the fun. How would you like to be in that when we were kings? I mean, God, what a man he was, wasn't he? I mean, phenomenal man.
Is there anybody modern day that you'd like to promote?
What, today?
Yeah.
I'd like to promote Anthony Joshua. The first fight I'd make is him and Tyson.
There you go. I think that's the fight that we all want to see, isn't it?
Yep. Give the fans what they want.
Absolutely. Listen, thank you so much. Enjoy next week's celebrations. I'm sure there'll be lots of things to enjoy.
All right, mate.
And here's to another 40. Can we do another 40 years, do you think?
If I can, mate, I'll obviously I'll bottle whatever it is that keeps me going to being 128.
Well,
I should get a few quid out of that. I'll probably get more money out of that.
You will. Well, let's hope the 41st year brings us Fury against AJ.
Fingers crossed.
Fingers crossed. There you go. All the best fights happen in the north. Fact. Frank's just confirmed it before anybody starts giving me abuse on social media. How many of them were we at? Ricky Cossage, who sits out?
I was there. I was at Jeff Lacey, Joe Calzaghe at 5 o'clock in the morning as well. That was absolutely incredible. Naz Kevin Kelly was literally one of the... I wasn't there, unfortunately, but one of my favourite ever Naz performances. So many, though, with Frank, let's be honest. He could have done a top 50, never mind a top 5, couldn't he?
Some Nigel Benn fights in there, all sorts of stuff.
Absolutely.
Big Frank Bruno, all sorts of stuff that we could have been speaking about. But to be fair, his list was pretty stellar, weren't it? And interesting that he wants to make wants to promote a certain fighter in order to make a certain fight happen for next year.
Listen, hopefully Frank won't need to necessarily promote Anthony Joshua as long as he's with Tyson Fury. We are going to get that fight next year. Hopefully. Listen, if you can make a fight like this during a pandemic, you can make the biggest fight in boxing out of a pandemic. That's what I'm thinking anyway.
Yeah.
It can happen.
Absolutely. Part of that conversation, as I'm sure you picked up on, is that he's looking forward to making the Liam Williams Demetrius Andrade fight.
Yep.
Another world title fight on the horizon. And then off the back of that, there'll be another one. Because on the undercard this weekend, Jack Catterall fights, he stepped aside from his WBO mandatory against Ramirez. That fight will hopefully be a unification against Josh Taylor. The winner of that, then hopefully will face Jack Catterall in the first half of next year.
Another Battle of Britain.
Another Battle of Britain. Well, you've caught up with Jack, so let's have a little bit of a listen into that conversation, because Nick caught up with Jack Catterall a little earlier on today to talk about stepping aside and the prospect of fighting for a world title next year.
Welcome back to the Dubois Joyce Big Fight Countdown here in London, and look who I've found. Do not adjust your sets. It is the man himself. It's Jack Catterall. He exists. He's still on this planet. Mate, we thought we'd lost you. Where have you been?
I've been at home. I've been training. I've been chilling. Just waiting for these big fights, but I can't complain. I'm back Saturday night. Looking forward to putting on a show for everybody.
Last time we seen you was a year ago, and it wasn't even on British soil. It was over in the Middle East.
I know, yeah. I think it was April last year that I've last boxed over here. It's been a while, but I've been in the gym. Obviously, we've had a situation with the WBO title, etc. But grateful, obviously, to be fighting in the current situation. This big pandemic going on, but I've got a fight Saturday, so really focused on putting on a good performance, and then hopefully for everybody, 21's a better year.
It's been an incredible 12 months, 18 months for your weight division. We'll come on to that in a minute and the opportunities that come next. But for you, not fighting in the UK, only having that fight a year ago, I think it's a year ago next week, isn't it?
Last weekend.
Last week, was it?
It was a year ago last week.
It's over a year now since you last boxed. You must be frustrated because you're there, Jack. You're almost close enough to touch that world title.
I keep telling everybody, I sound like a broken record. This time next year, 18 months, this time next year. And it's like, and it keeps getting pushed back. And obviously, we've had the situation, the step aside with the WBO, so now that's pushed it back to next year. But mentally, I'm in a good place. I've been training, I've been looking after myself. And yeah, it's been a year, so this Saturday, now really looking forward to just getting in there.
Yeah, absolutely. Just bring us up to date with where we are with the WBO. Obviously, Ramirez lined up for the unification fight with Taylor. Do you know what dates around that yet, and what promises you've got about facing the winner afterwards?
Yeah, as far as I understand, we come to a deal. MTK did a deal with Top Rank and the WBO, and I've agreed to step aside to allow that big unification fight to happen. So there was rumours it was going to take place last week of January, first week of February next year. So I've not heard any update yet, but hopefully that fight can go ahead and we can look forward to a big fight, hopefully springtime next year.
Being selfish from a British point of view, of course, we want Taylor to come through. We want Catterall Taylor. We want the big unification fight for all the belts to happen here in the UK. But I've heard two different comments from Josh Taylor recently. One about, yes, he would love that to happen, and he mentioned your name. But then I also seen an interview where he was talking about potentially moving up and chasing a potential fight with Terence Crawford as well.
And that was my argument. You'd have seen the tweets and stuff I put before the fight. I'm not stepping aside. I have to step aside money. I want that fight. But looking at it in a business point of view and sitting down with my team, my family, my managers, I believe we made the right decision in allowing that big fight to happen. Taylor initially said that, yep, you'll get the winner. And like you just said, then I do hope Taylor wins. It's a massive fight for British boxing. But who's to say that once he does win or Ramirez does win, they step up, that's totally out of my hands. But, I mean, right now, this second, I can only focus on things that I can control, which is winning on Saturday night.
The WBO, when you spoke to them, or MTK spoke to them, have they assured you that you've got the next shot? So if one of them was to move up and the belt became vacant, you'd be straight in there?
As far as I'm aware, still after them two box, I'm still mandatory for the WBO title at least, so hopefully that can still happen.
In terms of that fight itself, Ramirez or Taylor, which stylistically, how does that fight gel? How does it play out in your mind?
I've said it from the get-go. I believe Taylor wins that fight. I think Ramirez is a powerful, strong, come-forward fighter, but I see a lot of flaws within him. Obviously, I thought that I was getting that fight first, so I'd been watching him quite a bit. But I think Taylor's got, too many tricks for him. So if I was to watch that, if I was to making a judgment on that fight, I'd say Taylor would win.
Just in terms of being at home, you're obviously in Manchester. We've all been in lockdown, but now we're hearing that Manchester's one of the cities that's going to remain in Tier 3. So, you know, the highest possible tier. In the gym's one thing, you're a professional sportsman, you're allowed to go to work and train in the gym. But at home, with your family and everything else, what's life been like?
Yeah, it's been tough, but at the same time, the boxing gym's been open, so we've been able to go to work. This year's been quite a busy year for me. I've moved house. In February, bought my first house. We've got a little daughter on the way, so
Amazing.
Everything's been 100 miles an hour. So it's been exciting, but just hope we can put this year behind us, and next year things can start getting back to normal.
When's the due date?
January.
Amazing.
Just hoping it don't land on the weekend. Taylor Ramirez fights.
Listen, when that day comes, then everything will change. Speaking from, you know, someone who's got a daughter himself, everything's going to change then. And if you think you're hungry to become world champion now, you wait until the baby arrives and how hungry you get then, you know, because suddenly it's not about you anymore. It's about your daughter.
Of course, it is exciting times ahead.
Absolutely, yeah. Listen, you are back out on Saturday. That's the main thing. It is your first outing in 12 months, but I joked earlier on that I found Jack Catterall. He's still with us. But with all serious though, I think you need to remind fight fans that you're Jack Catterall, you're the #1 contender, and you're still around, and you know you're going to make a bit of a noise on Saturday night.
Of course, I've said it before. I've beat everybody I've been asked of domestically. I'm ready for these big fights. I couldn't have changed what's happened this year. Everybody's been in the same situation, but hopefully I'm going to put a good performance on Saturday and just remind everybody that I'm only 27. I'm here for these big fights these next couple of years.
Before I let you go, I've got to ask you, the main event, you Dubois, Joyce, how do you see that one playing out?
Keep changing my mind, but I think I'm Dubois. I'm going to stick with him. Been on a couple of undercards, watched him come through from his early fights, so I'm going to stick with my man Daniel.
Before anybody tweets me, he's not my son, all right? I know that I've got the greys, and we're from the same area.
Yes.
We're not. If he wins a world title, I might claim it though. What an opportunity for him, and a little bit of savvy business sense there. His management team, NTK, have obviously advised him well, because fight for 1 title or fight for 4 titles. Clever move.
Exactly. You know, going over to the US and fighting Ramirez on away soil for 2 of the belts. Listen, Jack would take that tomorrow if he could. But if you step aside, you get to fight on home turf in the UK against Josh Taylor for all 4 belts. Come on, man, it's not even a conversation, is it? You know, so listen, I can tell he's frustrated. He spent a year outside of the ring. Nobody wants to do that, especially during a pandemic when you're locked up and you want to go to work, you want to be busy. But I think we're going to see something a little bit special from Jack Catterall here on Saturday night. I think he's got the eye of the tiger. He wants to just remind the world who the #1 contender for the WBO title is, and remind us all that should Josh Taylor come through, that's the fight we need to be campaigning for.
Absolutely. The main event of the weekend, Daniel Dubois taking on Joyce, is an absolute firecracker. British, European, Commonwealth heavyweight titles on the line. I'm going to say something now which you probably expect to see on Frank Warren's Queensberry YouTube channel, but I'm saying it genuinely from the heart, right? I'm looking forward to this fight more than I'm looking forward to AJ Pulev. There, I've said it.
Well, listen, I started my chat at the start of this week with Daniel Dubois by saying, welcome to the biggest welcome to the biggest heavyweight fight you will see in Britain in 2020. And I meant it.
There you go, mate. There you go. But that's the beauty of this fight, because we've had many conversations in the build-up to it. We've had conversations with everybody in the media room, the fighters. I mean, we're even asking them their opinion on it. And everybody says, well, at the start of the week, I was thinking Daniel. Then I started thinking Joe. Then I started thinking Daniel again. And I think that's where the majority of the audience are at. People are genuinely appreciating that this is a proper fight. Boxing has this tendency to dress things up to be something that it's not a lot. There is no sales needed here. This is a proper fight. A real rock'em sock'em robots, and we could be in for a real treat at Church House.
Yeah, I think we are definitely going to be in for a real treat, because neither of these guys have ever lost before. There is no blueprint for either of them losing. We know neither of them are going to quit. 2 big lads from London putting it all on the line for 3 of the best belts in boxing, for the chance to potentially fight for the world title in 2021. The sport just does not get any bigger than this. One very much at the start of his career, one very much, even though he's still very much a novice pro, coming towards the end of his boxing career. It's got all the ingredients to be something extra special. You know what? I'm gonna go out on a limb and say both guys are gonna hit the floor at some stage in the fight. Both guys are gonna touch down at some stage in this fight. Oh,
Hey?
I've gone early. It's not even a weigh-in day yet.
Get to the bookies, mate. Get to the bookies. Listen, whatever happens, we're in for a treat. It's going to be an absolute cracker. Hopefully you've enjoyed the 3 preview episodes that we've brought you building up towards this monster fight on Saturday night, which you can get on BT Sport. And if you can't get in front of the TV, get in front of the radio because it's on TalkSport. Live commentary of that fight as well. We'll have a post-fight show. Because of the COVID restrictions, we can't do it from the venue, but we will have a post-fight show for you. Episode 4 will be the review of Dubois, Joyce, and we will be obviously picking the bones out of everything that happens and maybe talking about the prospects of the next heavyweight champion. Who knows? Thank you very much for joining us. Make sure you subscribe to the Queensberry channel because there's plenty more content coming throughout the course of the week as we speak to the rest of the undercard. We'll catch you next time.